Hi, my name is Shahar Gindi, and the title of my presentation is Bridging Narratives, How Academia Challenges Combative Media Discourses in Times of War. And I want to start by addressing the two main challenges that I believe academia must confront, and these are polarization and populism, and these should be confronted more urgently than ever before because society is becoming more divided, more hostile, and less capable of meaningful discussion. So, we have ample evidence that polarization has been deepening over the decades, not just in the US, also in Israel, Europe, many other regions. And what fuels it? So, one of the main things is the revolution of social media, the main platform for news, education, and social interaction. Social media, in essence, has become a battlefield, not just a neutral conduit. It doesn't make conscious decisions, but uses algorithms designed not for truth, but for engagement, division, outrage. These algorithms are amoral. They have no political ideology, but they understand very well what triggers fear, hatred, and division. And this understanding is what fuels polarization. The algorithms exploit our psychological failures, amplify our biases, and turn social media into echo chambers of hate and suspicion. And the content that gets engagement is shallow, extreme, divisive, provocative, designed to keep people hooked. And a cycle is created whereby polarization feeds extremism, and extremism pushes the boundaries of what is acceptable. What used to be taboo becomes the new normal, which leads us to populism and populist leaders. So autocratic populist leaders like Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu, who discard humanistic discourse, grow while experts in academia lose their authority. Nationalism, religious identities, and cultural tribalism grow stronger, each side digging in deeper, building walls of ignorance and hostility, hiding behind their own narratives and rejecting the others. This wave of polarization impacts diplomacy, international conflict, social cohesion, even personal relationships. So the conflict regarding Gaza is a mirror reflecting this global climate. So regarding the war in Gaza, so for example, the discourse is controlled by extreme nationalists, religious fundamentalists, and radicalized groups who spread buzzwords and dog whistles, stereotypes. The right bombards social media with terms like anti-Semitism, Hamas is ISIS, Nazis, terrorists, triggering immediate emotional responses. The left shouts genocide, colonization, apartheid, Nazis, and making nuanced debate nearly impossible. Most individuals who are less radical, less informed, are forced into one extreme or the other, unable to find a middle ground. And this dynamic fuels division, spreads radicalized narratives among broader audiences. So, what should academia do? I think it must resist this destructive polarization. We should be the bastion of critical thought, the force that challenges simplistic narratives. But the harsh truth is that we often fall into the same traps. We need to ask ourselves, are we helping elevate the discourse or just reproducing the same polarized rhetoric? Real critical analysis, that depth and nuance, must become our default. Discrete, uncontextualized facts are not helpful, knowing that 1,200 Israeli civilians were killed on October 7th or that 20,000 children have been killed in Gaza is only part of the picture. The real task, the urgent task, is to present these facts within wider context, challenge the reductive black and white narratives, and insist on complexity. So, in the face of the dominion of neoliberal, right-wing, militaristic, and populist narratives, academia should, in my opinion, present a liberal, humanistic thought. These are forces shaping the global discourse, often pushing a disruptive, anti-humanist agenda. The US, Israel, Russia, Turkey, authoritarian populists are riding the wave of resentment and nationalism. And in the face of this, we cannot remain neutral, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean taking sides on Israel or Palestine. I mean taking sides for humanism against the political cynicism of these populist leaders. We have a moral obligation to stand against the narratives that dehumanize that normalize violence, and that silence suffering. The challenge, and it's enormous, is to use our academic power to create platforms for public engagement. I don't have a solution, but I would like to throw a few initial thoughts. So one is how we craft narratives that speak truthfully about the horrors of war, injustice and occupation, the moral costs of silence in a deep yet accessible way. International collaboration and perhaps transpolar collaboration should become a strategic pillar. So not reproducing the same polarized discourse. And to borrow a term from disability studies, in disability studies, they say nothing about us without us. So I'm not sure we can just take this as is, and not every piece of work on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should involve Israeli or Palestinian scholars, but international collaborations are very, very important to fight this polarized discourse. Our deep, nuanced research will not trickle down and change public discourse on its own. We need to actively employ education, not just as a tool for knowledge transfer, but as a strategy for eliciting critical thought. And in that sense, it is important to teach high school students, college students, and the general public how to discuss controversial political issues, how to debate ideas, not slogans, how to listen, not just shout. Actually, teaching kids to talk about controversial issues should start in kindergarten. And we as lecturers should also be models for such discourse. This is a defining moment for academia. In the end, it's about a fundamental shift in academic culture for more activism, not just analysis, but more engagement. The world is changing fast, and the forces of authoritarianism and populism are spreading at an alarming rate. We need to consider whether the traditional neutral stance actually serves justice, or whether it simply allows injustice to flourish. And we have a moral obligation to shape narratives that challenge the combative, aggressive, and reductionist media discourses that threaten to tear our world apart, and reject these false dichotomies of good versus evil, and foster critical, compassionate, and courageous scholarship that refuses to be silent in times of war. Thank you.